designed to hijack the populist whatever in America and make it nothing. To make sure no meaningful populist movement ever rises. And anybody that questions the regular mainstream red and white pill bullshit will inevitably find themselves running in the hamster wheels that Steve Bannon and others have curated over the last 5 and 10 years. And it is 5 and 10 years because it started before the pandemic with these people.
Every member of Congress.
So and you have 535 members. You're telling me.
I'm telling you, that's the number that I've heard. Remember, Bobby's budget, $1.9 trillion, is 3 times the military budget. So yes, this is the biggest money center in the cabinet, and it is connected, especially around pandemic preparedness. This is connected to the military-industrial complex. So yes, they are extremely powerful, and we're seeing this tremendous pushback, which we've been seeing all along. But what's important is that Bobby Kennedy is on the cusp of confirmation. There were thousands of people who came from all over the country. I am certain there are millions of people watching the videos that are out there right now. This is something the country wants to see. The country wants to understand this vaccine issue. And they, I think, are behind what Bobby basically, his message was, I want gold standard science and I want radical transparency. Those were his
gold standard science and radical transparency, which could be 5 years of funded testing. 5 years of children continuing to get the hepatitis B shot at birth. 5 years of teenagers still being administered the hepatitis B vaccine. And 5 years of people still taking the COVID shots. Especially old people, you know, the part of the population pyramid that needs managing.
His core messages.
Is that why there's so much money through the system? Is that why finance goes before the healthcare committee?
I think so.
Because you're just talking about the cash is so big.
It's so great.
And you have to know somebody's a fiduciary.
Yeah, and when there's no transparency, how do you know the money's being honest? You don't.
But the money's not being honest.
Well,
but there's no transparency at CHD either. It's not like they tell you where all their money comes from. Where's Bannon's funding come from? Where's Kevin McKernan's money coming from? Where's Kevin McCairn and Charles Rixey's money coming from? Where did Robert Malone's money come from for all the international COVID summits? Where is all this money from locals and Substack coming from? Where does Rumble get all its money and funding from? See how they get you focused on one dumb little shiny object inside of the limited spectrum of debate and then fight over it and yell about it and throw it back and forth. And then it's so exciting. You think, oh my gosh, I want that too.
There's tremendous corruption in the healthcare sector. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. In Medicaid and Medicare that they talked about, there's tremendous levels of fraud. And I think Bobby Kennedy will look at that. And I think he will be positive in undercutting some of that, fat.
Your understanding of this industrial complex, your understanding of Bobby Kennedy, the man and the activist, what are the one or two most important things he can accomplish for President Trump and the nation as the secretary?
Radical transparency is number one. There are closed books, Steve, that need to be opened about the chronic disease epidemic. He is laser focused.
About the chronic disease epidemic or about the vaccine schedule or about infectious disease? What? The chronic disease? There are books that need to be opened? What?
On overcoming the chronic disease epidemic in this country. Over half of adults and children have some kind of chronic condition.
Define that when you say
chronic means it's not an acute condition. It's not an accident.
He says, define that for me, and then he starts writing it down.
Stop lying!
Holy crap, this theater is terrible.
It's not an infectious disease. It means it's asthma, it's diabetes, it's heart disease.
I mean, that guy's wearing a working man's coat, and he probably has a manicure every week. What a show.
It's cancer.
And America's never been like that.
Something's happened. And as Bobby said, there can be genetic susceptibility, but there has to be some environmental trigger. And he's an environmental scientist. He's been looking at this kind of science. What is the trigger? What's making this happen? As he said, when his uncle was president, there were like 3% of the American public that had chronic disease conditions. They weren't spending money on it. Now it is 90% of our healthcare budget. And it's not about the money cost. It's really about the human cost. I thought it was really poignant when he said, when people are healthy, they have 1,000 dreams. When people are sick, they have one dream, and that's to be healthy.
Be healthy. What's the, besides radical trans?
Listen carefully to what she says next, because I think this is where you can hear the truth plain as day, that these people play for the globalists, they play for the transhumanists, they play for the people that are trying to invert our sovereignty to permissions, our sovereignty to experimental animal status. Listen carefully.
Transparency. What else?
Well, gold standard science. The truth of the matter is, Steve, we look at the science around vaccines every day, and it is not transparent and it's not honest science.
What does that even mean? Transparent, honest science? Is she going to talk about p-values and null hypotheses? Is she going to be talking about the assumptions of the immune response and pathogen-associated molecular patterns versus damages? So no, nothing. These are all just buzzwords and nonsense bullshit that is a limited spectrum of debate that sounds really good and means nothing. She's a lawyer using meaningless words, and that should show you how malevolent her role is. Because lawyers that worth their salt don't use any meaningless words. They're some of the funnest people to converse with.
There's fake placebos that are used every day. They game who goes into the clinical trials, and they hide the data. The FDA doesn't do any independent science. The drug companies do the science, and they feed to FDA basically what they want to feed. So Bobby is going to have a lot to do with recreating gold standard science and bringing in, as he said, people to HHS who are really ready to engage in unbiased science and innovation.
What do you put his odds today after the finance committee? What do you put his odds as confirmation?
Oh, wait, what did she just say there? Was that the part I missed? Did I miss that part?
And they feed to FDA basically what they want to feed. So Bobby is going to have a lot to do with recreating gold standard science and bringing in, as he said, people to HHS who are really ready to engage in unbiased science and innovation.
Innovation? Unbiased science and innovation. Innovation is not a word you want to hear out of Mary Holland's mouth.
What do you put his odds today after the finance committee? What do you put his odds as confirmation?
Better than 50%. Way better than 50%.
What do you think? What does he have to do tomorrow? Because Megan and I would love to see him more aggressive, but you're saying you don't understand the game. The game's a confirmation. Let the Democrats punch themselves
Think about
out.
what they accuse him of. They accuse him of being a nut job. They accuse him of being an anti-vax conspiracy theorist. So what's the best antidote to that? To be deliberative, to be calm, to be sober-minded, to be rational. I think that's what he showed today. I think that's what he'll show tomorrow.
Is that
one of the things that was most impressive?
Is he being sober-minded and rational by saying that he supports vaccines? He supports the vaccine schedule. He wants to protect the vaccine schedule? Or is he just being disingenuous from the perspective of some people that have fought for this for a decade? It just sounds like lying. It just sounds like selling out. I don't come into HHS with any preconceived notions seems to mean that in the last 10 years of advocacy, these people haven't learned anything worth telling you. Or haven't managed to summarize it into an elevator pitch yet.
Working with you guys the last couple of years, the people involved with you.
Working with you guys for the last couple of years. Go look it up and see. Go look up and see how much Bannon has promoted CHD as the movement. It's a wonderful admission because it's true. More than a couple years.
You guys in your movement. I was very impressed. Claire Dewey had some tremendous interviews on the way in the line. But talk about those 1,000 people. What got you? Not just had Megyn Kelly sitting back here. You literally had people rotating in all day for those seats to show support. Talk to us about those people.
I just talked to people who flew in from Hawaii, Steve. I talked to people who flew in from Illinois, people who drove all night, people who waited online at 1 a.m. People want somebody who cares about people in that job. I think we've seen, Alex Azar, Scott Gottlieb, people who really came out of pharma and they went back to pharma. Bobby's never been in pharma. He's never been in corporate interest, and he's there for the people. As he said, he doesn't.
But he's always been handled by Meryl Nass and Mary Holland, which is not a very good sign of independence.
Need this job to be secretary, but he wants children to be healthy. He wants our country to be healthy.
Explain to our audience, what is Make America Healthy Again? What does the MAHA movement stand for?
It stands for taking America's health back from corporate interests. The corporate interests make money on sick people. We have a sick care system. We don't have a health system. I think Bobby wants it to be a system that supports health. And that's good food, that's good medicine, that may be supplements, that may be use of AI, that may be telemedicine. It's really
supplements
and
AI, says Mary. That might be supplements and AI, says Mary. That might be supplements and AI as a medical device, which would need FDA approval. I'm going to continue this show over the course of